Vida Nota, the authority.
How are you doing?
You've become, you've officially, is it officially, unofficially, become
What?
like the biggest podcaster in the country without having a podcast, which is insane. You're like a podcast hoe.
Yeah.
A lot
Except I don't charge.
Yet,
Yeah, well.
hopefully in time when podcasts have money, we'll be able to pay guests, which is only fair.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'd probably be a regular guest, but hopefully in time, like, I'd be brought onto podcasts for a specific campaign.
Yeah.
You know, and then I can be paid by whoever's sponsoring that campaign. Like if they want to speak to just an expert generalist, you know, on something, then they can call me, pay me. But first things first, I need you
No, it can't be the first thing. Let me first set the rules of the house. Wait,
Okay,
let me first set the rules of the house.
It's your house.
So the Penuel show is still relatively new, and I needed to have this platform in particular because on the virtual Mkuku, we're more like educational and we allow our guests to speak. Here, I can go hard, and if I feel you're talking shit, I can be like, get the fuck out of here. So I created this platform just for me to have conversations, not necessarily to have interviews, not necessarily to let you tell your story. You can tell your story on other platforms. It's literally for us to engage. And when you called me a day or two ago, and I said, please come through, I was saying, what I said in that phone call was, it's clear that the South African youth in particular are deprived of intelligent young people in this country. They always think they have to dial into America to get intelligence. And one of the reasons you trend, one of the reasons people love seeing you on platforms is because you're hyper intelligent. And I said I wanted you here so that you and I can have a mental arm wrestle and just engage and talk and not speak gossip and whatever other things, but just to have a conversation about whatever you want. So please feel free to raise whatever you want. I know you don't really need an introduction. I know you don't need questions. But
man. There was just that main thing.
Okay, so
just explain yourself with this whole Stalin and Hitler thing. What is your obsession with people who've committed atrocities? Like, what is it? Like,
do you really want to understand, or
no? I'm asking.
Are you asking because you want to tell me?
No, I'm asking your explanation. Like, what is your like? Because for me, it just seemed weird.
Sure. Does it seem like I'm searching for reactions and responses?
No. It just seems like you've got a misunderstanding on actual atrocities. You know what I mean? Like mass murder of people is an atrocity.
Yeah.
Nobody should ever excuse it. The fact that in our history as human beings, we've gone through that phase of committing genocides and all those things. Yes, it's because we were savages back then. But now in 2022, for us to go back to things that we've already gone past as a society, after the hardships, nothing good has come from killing people. Nothing good came from exterminating the Jews. Nothing came from exterminating the Slavs. Nothing good came from, exterminating the Incas and the Aztecs or everybody who was in South America. Nothing good came from exterminating the Congolese, or the people in Namibia. Nothing good has ever come from extermination of people.
Yeah.
And those exterminations of people have been mostly done by white people. And those same white people can be praised and celebrated. No one looks at Winston Churchill as someone who committed war crimes, who used to gas people. Winston Churchill tried to gas Russians in 1917 or 1918. And the only reason why those orders were not followed through was because a South African Air Force lieutenant, John Sherwood Kelly, decided not to follow those instructions. And then he was taken out of the army, whatever. He already got his Victoria's Cross and everything else, for outstanding achievement and outstanding military service. But even he knew as a soldier, yes, they were at war against these Russians, that I can't follow an instruction, to bomb people with chemical gases.
It was violating his ethical codes.
Exactly. And this was before gassing people was known as a war crime, because that only became known as a war crime after the Treaty of Versailles, after the First World War. So these people who've committed these atrocities and these war crimes are not people that we can excuse in any way, shape or form. There's certain concepts that they might have gotten onto, But we know that they were the political leaders. They weren't the people who actually came up with the concepts. You know, it's not like Marx was the person who led the revolution. You know, it was Lenin.
Sure.
So that, for me, that was just like a concerning thing. And for people that are watching this content as well, we need to hold each other and ourselves highly accountable. You just said that there's people are lacking intelligent conversations, and you're right. Now, you also need to understand that people have been seeing people come onto these platforms and thinking that, okay, this is the gospel. These people are intelligent. They're on these media platforms, right?
Sure.
That's been television. You watched that episode I did with Sbu on his on Hustlers Corner, where I spoke about Ubabukos Khatebe, who used to hire people at SAPC and everything else. So all those people were seen as people who speak the truth. If this man says something, if Tuso says something, it's the truth because it's him, you know? Now we're finding out scandals that they've abused their power. They put themselves on royalties, on certain songs, on bed music. They've been earning money and all these things. It's because they had all that power to be able to abuse it. And the only thing that's challenging them now is this online media. And the reason why people are going on to online media and seeking online media is because they're seeking the truth. They're actually actively seeking the truth. They're pushing themselves away from the traditional media because the traditional media has always been propaganda. True. It's only now that people actually understand that actually this media that we've been fed the whole time has always been propaganda.
Yeah.
It's only now. So us who are now on this place where people see us as the people who are telling the truth, we need to hold ourselves accountable for everything that we say. You don't know that there's a madman listening to you.
Who gets inspired by the words I say.
That you have got the intellect to understand that you don't mean them literally.
Is this my chance to answer?
No, this is your chance to say that, did you not understand the danger of saying those things on a public platform? And how someone can just take a snippet. You've seen how people have taken snippets of things I've said in full context in a 2-hour podcast and made it into 27 seconds and then weaponized that.
Sure.
So now when you talk about mass murder.
When you were 4 years old, geez, those memes were funny. So the one thing I'll agree with you is that the killing of people and the killing of the masses is a bad thing. So officially on the record,
you apologize for that.
No, I'm not apologizing.
What do you mean?
I'm agreeing with you that it's an atrocity and that it's a bad thing and that I probably don't even understand what that actually means.
No, hold on. So you're saying that you believe in people being killed? You think it's a necessary...
I'm trying to answer you.
Okay. No, I'm listening.
Okay. So I agree that it's an atrocity. In some of the names that you mentioned, Joseph Stalin, Adolf Hitler, we can even go further back, Genghis Khan, we can speak about King Leopold.
I mentioned the names that you mentioned.
Okay. Can speak about King
Hitler
Leopold
and
Zaire. I'm a student of life. I believe you are as well. A student of history. And in my personal life, I've been wanting to get to the highest level of my potential and become the greatest version of myself possible. When you listen to Jordan Peterson, one of the things he says is that a good man is not a harmless man. A good man is a dangerous man who has it under voluntary control. And I do believe that in particular, Black Africans are weak because at no point are they ever willing to pull the trigger. When you look at the atrocities of white supremacy, they've always gone for the head. They won't kill random blacks. They'll go for the black leader. When black people talk about whites, they never talk about killing the ultimate white, for example. And I realize you need to have some type of understanding and psychology of that. And raised as a sheep, as I believe I was, having to speak about lions that have eaten sheep and buck their whole lives. And then we're having a conversation as buck. And I'm saying, you know what? I actually understand how these lions were eating us because it's the laws of the jungle. And you're saying, no, but dog, to eat people is wrong. And I'm like, I know, I agree. And I'm saying, because I want to elevate to the highest level of human in the different tools that are out there for supreme power and domination, you need to understand the psychology of killing a lot of dissenting people. I don't applaud it, but I do understand and respect it. And I think in particular, if
you can't respect it.
If black people ever
you can't
want...
respect it.
I hear you. If black people ever
in
want to...
In your opinion.
Yes, in my opinion. If black people ever... I'm speaking about race, even though I don't like the race conversation.
There's no such thing as race, by the way.
Okay. If I ever want to get to the highest level of being and domination, I must be willing to do what those people did. And I think Umkhonto weSizwe was trying to elevate their mindset to be like, since these people don't want to listen to us, we've toyed, we've bombed buildings, clearly we must be willing to go to that level of darkness, because it's the only way you can ever speak to evil. You must be willing to take on evil yourself. And that's all that I was trying to say.
Okay, cool. So let me give you an example.
But you must tell me what you want me to apologize for, so I can apologize.
Like everything that you just said, you need to apologize for everything that you just said because it's bullshit. Number 2, right? When you speak about these white people that committed those atrocities, that's their inferiority. They were inferior. They've got inferior genes, and they know they're going to be bred out. They know they're facing extinction. It's something they cannot avoid. So the only way for them to protect themselves for as long as they think is to slaughter all the other superior, skin shades. No, skin shades, because that's all it is. It's all about UV exposure. Genetically, we've got the same human genome. We're 99.9% all the same. The difference is in the 0.1% that gives us our individual variances. So genetically, we're all the same. There's no such thing as race, genetically, okay? Speaking. Now, when you're speaking about all these people who committed these atrocities and who did these eugenics studies, they figured out that the people, the Caucasians, have got recessive genes. And what that means is that when you start mixing and intermingling, you're going to be bred out if you've got the recessive gene. A black man finds a white woman, they have a black child. A white man finds a black woman, they have a black child. You've got recessive genes. There's nothing you can do about it. You're seeing in America right now, there's a whole lot of crazy right-wingers talking about this whole entire replacement theory. Replacement theory as in the invaders are going to be displaced by the natives. Yes, it's going to happen naturally because you've got recessive genes.
Sure.
And also, your genes also mean that your women have got less fertility than other women who've got more melanated skin. So, again, genetically speaking, you are already an inferior being. There's no such thing as white supremacy. White supremacy in its own, as a matter of fact, right, is about white inferiority complex. Now, white violence is a response to their inferiority because they know that their genes are weak. They're going to be bred out. You know what I mean? From an athletic build perspective, if we test human beings and we see who are the best athletes in the world, a lot of them are, of course, Negroid.
Of course.
So they're losing on all fronts. Now, you cannot take the loser in the battle strategy and see that as the supreme strategy or superior logic. You cannot, because life is continuous. Humanity, right, does not begin at the 19th or the 20th or the 21st century. It began a long time ago. We've been here for 200,000 years and 5,000 of those we've been writing or whatever, or 10,000 of those we've been writing, and exchanging languages, etc., and keeping our ideas in text form even beyond our life. So these people did not invent any of our civilization, these Caucasians. They did not invent any of our civilization. Civilization happened all around them, and those civilizations were more advanced than them, and they were threatened by those civilizations. And so they thought that instead of them now being at the mercy of these other superior civilizations, they might as well attack first. And that's exactly what they did. And they spread themselves out in the world and tried to attack first. But there's nothing they could do. From a military strategy perspective, if I want to invade a place, I need to have a military force that's 3 times the force that I find there, if I'm the invading party.
Yes.
There's no way Europeans could have invaded Africa with 3 times the population of Africa. There's no way they could have invaded Asia with 3 times the population of Asia. There's no way they could have invaded North and South America with 3 times the population had it not been for the diseases that they brought.
Okay.
So the difference is that the places where they were able to get in, right, which is the Americas, they brought diseases there that decimated the populations there. That's actually what happened. So the Aztecs and the
That was their strategy.
It wasn't their strategy. It's what happened because they
It wasn't a strategy.
They brought diseases from a certain area.
Oh, it was accidental.
Those people had never been exposed to these diseases.
Oh, it was accidental.
It was accidental. Okay. You understand what I'm saying?
Sure.
And now you can see, okay, fine. That's biochemical warfare at its beginning. at its first stages. And now once these populations had been decimated in these places, they didn't have enough people to work the lands or to work the mines or whatever it is. So they needed to find slaves from another place and bring them there. That's why the Atlantic slave trade brought African slaves to the Americas.
Yeah.
Now, what does that tell you? They didn't even have the strength or the skills to build this new civilization. They needed to fetch Africans. So every single sign of their dominance is actually an admission of their weakness.
So the one thing I'll first agree with you is when you're going to attack people violently, and we see this with what's called gender-based violence, it is normally men of an inferiority position that end up beating women because you can't out-argue her. The next best thing you have is maybe a fist. So I agree that it's a reaction, it's an inferior reaction. My question to you now, if we're going to agree that white people or lighter-skinned people committed these atrocities from a point of weakness and inferiority, how do you defend yourself if you're not willing to fight them at that level?
You don't need to defend yourself. This is the same reason why China does not have to fight weapons to get Taiwan back. Not one drop of blood needs to be spilt. We have genetic superiority. So in 1,000 years from now, there will be no Caucasians left.
How?
There will be no Caucasian, and we don't need to kill them to make that so. The way the world is globalizing, the way people are, intermingling, and exchanging color shades, the world will darken. And they will benefit from the melanated skin that they'll get, which will protect them from the skin cancer, which is the number one killer in the United States of America right now.
What's the solution to someone attacking you violently in your home?
So that is a situation that happens from a person to person. This is
let's say a crew.
We're not looking at humanity because the things that you're talking about, right, were about a structure of humanity. So when you're talking about Stalin and you're talking about Hitler, those were socialists, communists, right? They were fighting against the capitalist system for humanity. They knew that whatever fight that they were fighting, right, would only materialize 20 or 50 years after they're already gone.
Sure.
Right? The state of the world, the balance of power in the world. That's what they were fighting for. Now, to compare that to a situation where someone has broken into my house, you understand?
No, but
if someone breaks into my house, I tell them, yo, take whatever you need.
Sure.
Just spare my life. Whatever you need, take it. Anything that's material, you can take it. Just please leave me here.
But remember where you started this. You weren't speaking about the ideological framework for why they killed. You were just saying... No. You were saying the issue you have with what I've said was the mass murder of people as a concept. And I said, I agree that it's a bad thing.
It comes from the inferiority. As for what their political manifesto is, that ideology, that is a lie. Because they would never say, we are mass murderers, we want to kill people because we believe we are superior race. So anything that's propaganda, that's a lie. What they say, no. Look at their actions. Forget what they say, their statements or what their claims are. Their actions are that they understood through eugenics that they have recessive genes and that they will be bred out. And then they decided that instead of just allowing themselves to be bred out, they're going to try and suppress the growth of other populations.
How do you defend that?
There's no defense of that. It's just a pure evil.
No, I hear you.
It's just pure evil.
So you must let the colonizers and apartheid, they must just kill the people.
They did it in the past. No, hold on. They've done it in the past, right? They've done it in the past, and they've put in place systems that still subject us to the systems that we're under right now. We still live in a colonial system.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean that the colonial system has defeated us completely, because we're still here.
So you're saying black people were never meant to fight back?
Fighting back does not always have to mean that we have to now resort to violence.
So your issue is the violence. You have an issue with violence as a defense.
No, I have an issue with savagery. I think it's subhuman. I think that as human beings, we can reason, we can ration, we can use rationale.
Isn't that the mindset that keeps darker skinned people inferior though?
We're not inferior. We are actually superior. I've just told you how we're superior. But that sounds like just a story. No. It sounds like just a story when I'm saying it to someone who doesn't understand that. But if you actually study it and understand the facts and actually the science, I'm not talking about what your belief is. I'm not talking about what your culture is. I'm not talking about what your traditions are that tell you that you're inferior. The science is that you are superior. The truth is that you are superior. The birth rate says that you are reproducing at a faster rate than any Caucasians. You are outbreeding them. The numbers of your people are growing at faster than the numbers that they can kill. and at faster than the numbers that they are growing as well. So you are winning. However you look at it, doesn't matter how many people there have been, whether they massacred black people in Bupaitong and everything else, they did not decimate our population. And just as much as you are able to understand the usefulness of the loss of life for a certain cause that you believe in, right? You also need to understand that in this cause, right, loss of life is something that can be tolerated and accepted if we are in the ascendancy in the end.
I want to ask you a question.
But do you understand what I'm just saying?
I hear what you're saying.
That what you have said is that the loss of lives on our side is completely, totally unacceptable, and we need to avenge that. We need to just be as brutal and as violent and as savage as the whites were to us when they had the opportunity.
Not that we must avenge, but I agree with the second part.
Okay,
we must have the ability to be as brutal.
When they had the ability,
and savages.
when they had the ability to meet their brutality out on us, they did so, right?
Yes.
We need to put ourselves in a position to now choose whether to mete out that brutality on them or not to. That's what you're saying. And I'm saying even if we were to put ourselves in that position, for us to now lower ourselves to what they have done would be defeating ourselves. Why would we need to do that? We are in the ascendancy. There's no need for us to go to war with them. They cannot defeat us. You understand what I'm saying? It's like fighting with a child or beating up your wife. There's no way she can. There is no way.
Sure.
So us as black people, us as
you're saying black people
skins,
mustn't fight back and become
I said
savages.
there's no need.
Sure.
You understand? You must treat white people like it's your crazy wife. When she slaps you, you turn the other cheek.
I've got a question for you. You were speaking about. It sounds like you're speaking about the meek shall inherit the earth. The genetically superior shall inherit the earth. If you speak about the fact that darker skinned people outbreed Caucasians, do you believe black people should breed as a thing? Would guys please keep making children? And number one. And number two, should they be making children with maybe Caucasians?
Well, you can. They've got recessive genes. The babies will come out black.
Now, if you're saying it's going to happen naturally, are you saying black people must just keep making babies and maybe make babies with white people?
Nothing happens naturally.
Okay.
It happens culturally. So when something is natural, it is something that is within you. When something is cultural, it's something that you adopt because of the society that you live in. So the fact that in our society that we live in now, we've been divided, right, by our skin tones, right? The skin tones came naturally because of where we live in the world.
Yes.
Right? But now we have developed cultures on top of those skin tones, which are dividing us. But it doesn't mean that a person who's Caucasian and a Mongoloid person can't produce children.
Yeah.
Right? But a Caucasian cannot produce children with a chimpanzee.
I hear you.
As similar as we are genetically, 99% or whatever, the difference that separates us between us and chimpanzees. So that is a big enough difference to tell you the similarities between us, right? The similarities between us supersede any of those small, minuscule differences or those small natural differences. So the actual differences between us are only cultural. And the way to do that is that we actually need to have a deliberate effort to break down this culture that divides us by our skin shades. We need to strip that away. Europeans should stop now trying to breed exclusively with Europeans because it's pointless. It's futile. And they're not going to benefit from that. And in fact, they're going to make sure that their kids also suffer from the same skin cancer problem that all Caucasians suffer from. And why would you not want to spare your kids from having to suffer from skin cancer? You know what I mean? If it's as easy as having a child with someone who's got melanin, that's all it is. It's like, that's a natural advantage that people have. But the cultural barrier is what's stopping us from coming together.
Can I go on a different topic?
Okay.
A lot of people are fascinated with your mind and would like to know where you get your information from. Do you read books? Do you watch stuff? Because there seems to be a fascination, in particular with darker-skinned people that have a lot of information, that can process that information and then articulate it for the benefit of others. So
very quickly,
what would you say to that?
So I train. a lot of people say I'm highly intelligent. That is true. Yes, I am highly intelligent. That is my gift. That is my talent.
That's narcissism.
No, it's not narcissism.
Sure.
It's not narcissism. And I hate the fact that people say, things like that, like narcissism. Because if you just look at me, if I was a narcissist, why the fuck would I go to each and every Tom, Dick, and Harry podcast, give them of my time, help them, be empathetic to their cause? A narcissist does not do that. A narcissist wants to bring other people down, bring themselves up in manipulative ways. I'm not a manipulator as well. I'm very honest. I'm willing to say something that you might find offensive. A narcissist would never do that. A narcissist would want to play you. So I understand psychology because I've studied psychology textbooks and everything else, just like anybody else can. You can go to the library. Every single textbook in the world is there. If you want to study mechanical engineering, you can do so as well. As a child, I started learning how to read at a very early age because I had a sister who was 6 years older than me. And I wanted to compete with her. My sister is also highly intelligent, very bright, very talented, and was always she was my parents' firstborn. She was there. She was the only child. All the attention was on her and how bright she is and everything else. So as a child growing up, I knew that, oh, damn, being bright is a good thing. It'll get you attention. So that's exactly what I did. I tried to, be as knowledgeable as I could. I started reading at 4. Now, for certain people, they don't understand that, oh, damn it, you can be a child genius and a protege, whatever, that's inconsequential, right?
And even own it. I think part of their concern is also the owning it.
No, I never owned it. I've always been told I'm a child genius. You understand? Sure. I was taken to special places for people like me, throughout my entire life. So the fact that people would rather be jealous than learn from me, I mean, that's their loss. So the effort that I've put in has been mainly just to get the attention of my parents, to get them to see me, just like they saw my sister. And when my sister went up in levels, I would try to keep up with her. So when she went to school and she started doing reading lab, I started doing reading lab, even though I wasn't even in school.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when I finally got to school, she was already in grade 7, which is standard 5, which is the last year. So my sister and I were in school for 1 year together.
Yeah.
And she was acting on Soul City, then on season 3 on Soul City. They'd call her on the intercom to go and shoot and everything else. So I was in grade 1, so they'd call my sister. So I was already people were already looking at me. And just also because I was so advanced, I was already done reading. So when all the other kids in grade 1 were reading Paul and Pax and everything, I was already done with that. You understand what I'm saying? So I started at the purple one. Yeah, I started. Yeah, that was the basic one, the red books. I started at the purple books and so from that point onwards, they took me to a school for gifted children. It's called Radford House. It's in Fairlands. It's on Cornelius Street.
Radford House.
Yeah, Radford House. School of Thought.
For gifted kids.
It's for gifted kids. Yeah. Okay. Kids with high IQs. Right? That was when I was turning 8. I was 7 years old when I was taken to that school. That was for grade 2. I was taken out of my previous primary school. And the only reason I was taken to that primary school is because my sister was there. But the teachers there noticed this child, he's so distracted in class. Sure. We can't entertain him because he's already gone through everything. He knows everything that we're about to teach, and now while we're taking the other kids, he wants to play with them. You know what I mean? He's like, okay, when do we get to play? So they took me to Radford House, where, we could learn anything and everything. And our curriculum was based on Edward de Bono, critical thinking. So I was trained on critical thinking from the very beginning, from the onset.
Edward de Bono.
Edward de Bono.
De Bono.
Yeah.
Sure.
He's another psychologist. And the founder of our school is Professor Shirley Cockett, one of the country's foremost educational psychologists and child psychologists as well. And she helped me in that. At that point in time, it was like, okay, fine, your child seems to have hyperactivity, so we need to get him on maybe some Ritalins or whatever. Because that's what they were doing to all the kids. These are the drugs that the pharmaceutical companies were trying to introduce at that point in time. That's what they were advertising in the late 90s, right?
There's a resurgence of it now, by the way.
It's even worse, yes, I know. Yeah. And I stopped in 2008. I stopped when I turned 18. I told them, no, I'm not taking any of this shit.
You're telling me that you took it back then?
No, I took it at 17. I took it only once.
Okay.
So Dr. Shirley Cockett was able to ensure that I never get to take those medicines. Focused more on exercises, like giving me reading training exercises. Because like I used to struggle. Like sometimes like reading, I'd just lose concentration, lose my pay. Like I needed to use a ruler and everything else. So reading was really like an effort. And if reading is an effort already as a young child, growing up through the levels in school,
becomes
it's already
very
going.
tough.
Not only just, it's just discouraging. It's like, if I have to read, you'd rather procrastinate and everything else. So I'd never really understood that I'd worked on my like my listening skills, like retention of information that I'm hearing skills at a very young age already. I'd never realized that. I got the exercises. I went up. I finished grade 7 at Radford House, the School of Thought. Very interesting school. Taught us a whole lot: critical thinking, morals, and values. I even got into trouble once. I got into trouble and I told on myself. So I never thought that the situation was going to get this deep. But we had those tables where you could like put up a table and then there was something underneath.
Those desks.
Those desks, yeah. Hey. So me and my friend, there's two Dylans in the class.
Sandwich under those things.
There was Dylan. Who was the other Dylan? There was Dylan Lambrecht, right? And I remember his surname because it's hard to say. And there was another Dylan.
Sure.
So me and Dylan are passing notes to each other. And I pass a note. Fuck you, Dylan. Shut up. I send it. Now Dylan Lambrecht finds this note, and Dylan Lambrecht is a fucking crybaby. You know what I mean? Now he starts crying in the class. Someone said fuck you to me. Oh my goodness. Did the teachers not have a whole entire inquiry? I was like, my fucking God. Seriously, you guys are going to have an inquiry. I was like, there's no way they're going to actually have a full-on inquiry about this. Yeah. So I'm keeping quiet. I'm like, this is grade 4. I'm 10 years old. I keep quiet. Me and Dylan, we both keep quiet because we both know. He knows that note was for him and it wasn't for the other Dylan, but
it landed in the wrong Dylan's hands.
Yeah, but we're like, this is such a small
thing. I mean, fuck.
Fana. They had an entire inquiry. Every single person that stepped into that classroom on that day had to be questioned.
Jeez.
And they went through the entire process. And when they finally interviewed me and they asked me questions, I said, I don't know nothing.
How?
Yes, which means I know something. I couldn't lie.
Sure.
I couldn't bring myself to actually lie. So it's like, even like when...
But you used fancy English to hide.
Yeah, double negative. I used a double negative. So, right? I tried to lie.
So you didn't snitch. You didn't snitch, but you didn't lie.
I snitched on myself and I didn't lie.
Yeah, but they didn't know that you were snitching.
No, they did. Because then they called me afterwards.
Sure.
So I said like, okay, so who's told on me? So I was like, no, you told on yourself. Like, what do you mean? You said you don't know nothing, which means you know something. That's a double negative and you know that.
Jeez.
And I was like, yeah, that's my teachers and they taught me that. So yes, they know I know that. So yeah, okay. So they saw me, I admitted it. I said, how did you catch me? So now they've caught me. They suspected it was me at first. and now I admitted, okay, how did you guys actually get? And that lesson taught me about honesty and just being, a straightforward person. And even if it gets me into trouble, I will tell the truth.
Do you think
and not try to get away with things? It gave me all my values. Like Radford House gave me all those values. So they were really working on us. And another thing that I noticed when we got to grade 6, my principal would always have an obsession with us about becoming fraudsters. So we'd watch all these documentaries like Fraudsters, Long Con. There was this other Nicolas Cage
about becoming fraudsters.
Conman, yes.
That you guys might become that?
Yes, because we're highly intelligent.
Okay.
Like we're really smart. Like we could hack computers in primary school. We were hacking computers, like in primary school, we're hacking different computers, you know what I mean? When I got to high school, I actually hacked the exams and I left them I didn't use them because I've never cheated in an exam.
Jeez,
I hacked it and I left it on the computer lab on thingamajig, and then other people did use it and they did cheat. You know what I mean? But I just wanted to, be like flex. I can still test my primary school skills. So they were really concerned about how this intelligence can be frustrated by the system that we'll grow up into once we're adults. And that might lead us down negative paths where we're using our skills negatively, in ways that won't pay off. They brought in like former fraudsters. They bring in all these fraudsters and everything else, guys who did bank robbery forgeries. They even took us to the bank museum. You know what I mean? And especially when they're discussing the forgery part of things, like how they took us to the forensics lab, Professor Shirley Cockett's husband was the head of the Johannesburg forensics lab. So we actually went into the forensics lab where they test your blood if you've been drinking and driving in a car accident and everything else. They do autopsies, every single thing. Like, yeah, that's actually, it was rather obsessive that they were trying to stop us from becoming criminals. But they were really teaching us values and morals, you know what I mean? And how to be good people and how to help other people and assist other people. Then when I went to high school,
Wait, before you get to high school, do you think Radford House would be a good school for all kids? Or do you think it's best just for outliers? Do we need more schools like that?
No, there were 7 of us in my grade 7 class. Yeah, we need more schools like that.
For critical thinking in particular.
That's it. Where there's so few of us in a class that if one child is struggling, the entire class doesn't have to wait while the teacher's focusing on them. You
don't think Montessori's are trying to be that?
I don't know what Montessori is. I cannot comment on it.
Please go to high school.
High school, then I now get taken to Rauco, Metropolitan Rauco, which used to be DF Malan, and then it was bought by Rau University to make it a school for previously disadvantaged kids with high learning potential as well. You know, so we had aptitude tests and everything else. So I'm thinking to myself, why the fuck am I going to St. Stithians? Okay, my parents are broke. Okay, why don't I go to Cares at least, you know, since you guys are broke, you know, since you can't take us to like St. John's.
Broke is harsh.
Yeah, well, my dad went bankrupt 4 times. So
but that's harsh. Not broke. It's just they couldn't afford.
No. My dad was just broke. It's not that he...
Okay.
Yeah, he was just broke at that point in time.
It's not a diss.
He's an entrepreneur.
It's not a diss. He was actually broke.
Yeah, he was broke at the time. So, you know, it's what he said. That's what he told me. I said, why don't you take me to the... I'm broke. Okay, cool. You know what I mean? He didn't need to further explain it. So, high school... His bank manager then suggests that he takes me to this high school. We don't have to pay school fees. Just do an aptitude test. Nhlabula is a smart kid. He'll probably get through easily. I do get through easily. They accept me clean. Dad's like, damn, I don't have to pay school fees. Oh.
Happy days.
Again. Because the previous school I went to, Radford House, they didn't charge my parents school fees. They said, your child is so bright. We'd rather him come here for free and you pay whatever you can afford to pay.
Jeez.
Than lose him and lose the potential to teach him.
You're like a Kanye West of sorts. Because I think of that every time I hear you speaking.
The problem is this. I'm Kanye West without a mother who has a PhD. So my mother was not Donda. So Kanye West's mother supported him, was not fearful of him. Yeah. Whereas my mother was fearful of me. We were in completely different environments, you know, didn't understand me, you know, could not, like, you know how mothers like tricking kids? None of my mother's tricks ever worked on me since I was a kid. Sure. Like I was like, huh? Ma, that's not how it works. Yeah. No,
it's too elementary.
You understand what I'm saying? She tried that from the time I was a kid. So she couldn't con me, or, you know, so she became overly violent. You know what I mean? Like, you know?
And that happens with parents that have hyper intelligent kids. We see it with Sheldon. Where sometimes you just like outing him shy, ukhuluma kakhulu, whatever.
Who's Sheldon?
Sheldon is a character on The Big Bang Theory.
Oh yes,
so
I was Sheldon. Yes, I know. And now I remember Big Bang Theory. Yes. I thought you were talking about a recent TV show. No. Big Bang Theory is an old show, so I remember that.
There's a kid version, by the way, which focuses on him as a child. By the way.
Oh,
it's
so
like
now
it's a breakaway show. Yeah, it's a spin-off.
Oh, okay. Oh, damn. Okay, you see, I haven't watched TV in that many years, so I need to watch that. Because I used to love Big Bang Theory and I love Sheldon. Like, I related to him so much.
So you're at Rauco now?
I'm at Rauco, you know, all the kids are from the hood. Like, all the black kids. So with that as well, you know, just adjusting. I'm a North boy. I speak English. I don't know how to speak the vernac that they speak. I'm not as fluent.
Was it your first exposure?
Yeah.
Deep exposure to
like... Yeah, it was the first time I wasn't the only black kid.
And it was an adjustment for you?
One of 3 black kids in a school. You know what I mean? There was never more than 3 blacks in my previous school, you know? So yes, it was my first exposure outside of my family members, my cousins, etc., etc. You know what I mean? And they all came from, well, most of them, predominantly the black kids, came from Soweto. I guess...
Identity crisis? No?
For me, the main thing was girls. Girls did not want this romantic, soft North boy Like at all.
Sure.
Like I'd write the best poems. I remember this other chick that I actually bumped into her. So I bumped into her and it was so funny, right? I got invited to some songwriting session that Msaki was hosting with Kid X.
Yeah.
And I'm there with my wife as well at that point in time. And then I find the girl who said no to me, who rejected me after I wrote her like a poem, which I printed out in a flip file. And then I had that flip file and I had the pages, you understand? And I made her read it, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, but it was no hard feelings. She let me down easily. You know, like I had... Well, I still have like my favorite type of women.
I actually have a similar story.
By the way, dark women.
I have a similar story, but we'll discuss it on another day. It's very funny.
So this woman, I sent this notes. I'm like, and she was the one I really liked because I just had a thing for dark girls. You know what I mean? Oh, well, I still actually like even Lupita Nyong'o. Like that's like
you into dark girls.
Yeah. So that's my thing.
The darker the berry,
the sweeter juice. Yeah. So from her, I was like, okay, fine. She was like a really hot girl, right? Mm. I don't want to go for anyone that's not out of this world, like anyone that's not average. I've never ever gone for
mediocre.
Anyone that's not the hottest. Mm. Like out of this, if I'm looking at the girls in grade 10, I need to have the hottest grade 10 girl. Whatever. You know what I mean? Just like since I was a kid. So
you're drifting to girls now.
I'm telling you about high school. I'm telling you, girls are very important in high school because the academics are one thing. You understand what I'm saying? But the girls are the main thing.
Before we go too far, the question started with people wanting to know how your brain works.
How my brain works. Now I'm teaching you how my brain works.
Because once we start speaking about bums, things can go sideways.
No. I'm not a bum guy. I'm a boob guy.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, so yeah.
But anyways.
No. It's because in my family, the women are gifted with really big bums.
Okay.
So every time I was a kid, I'd go to the mall or whatever with my sister and something like that. And then guys would give them so much attention and it would always be uncomfortable because it's not like I can fight them. I was still a kid. You know what I mean? So I just didn't want that attention. So I never wanted myself when I grew up to have a girlfriend. Now, when I can fight them,
with bombs.
Now when I can fight dudes. You understand what I'm saying? I just didn't want to walk with someone who's going to make me want to fight people. You know what I mean? And that's why I don't like offensive asses. That's what I call it. That ass is offensive.
Jeez.
You understand? But boobs, they can be covered nicely. You know what I mean?
Dark girls, big boobs.
You understand? Yeah. Those were my things. So, and I married a yellow bone. so those were my things.
Such a sellout.
Yeah, such a sellout. Those were my things. But these girls, it took a while for me to actually get myself to a point where these girls could understand me. But it taught me a lot as well. I couldn't use the fact that I come from four ways or anything else. So it wasn't about whether your parents have money, whether you're a cheese boy, you can take them out on nice dates and everything else. None of that worked. It's about your character, who you are as a man. And the guys from the hood were more rough. They were more rugged. And in the conditions in the hood, if you're a girl and the way things go around, you know what I mean? If you're walking around with your girl who's got her fat ass, you're going to have to fight some niggas in the hood. So they wouldn't want to now make me have to fight these niggas in the hood by being with me. So they just, you know what, let's spare you the trouble. You're going to get your ass kicked here. You understand what I'm saying? So that taught me a lot. So now growing up to becoming an adult, I realized that I was being shaped in a certain way. I was being shown all these different environments from different perspectives and to learn, and also being taught by psychologists so I could psychoanalyze everything. I could psychoanalyze other people. You know what I mean? Just everything.
Were you still reading in high school? Were you still consuming?
No. I like reading. I did when I had to do. You know, like prescribed reading. But I have never been a reader, and I'll explain to you why.
Sure.
So it was only by the time I was about to finish matric, my marks were struggling because at first I could work off listening in class and my memory, it was really good. But when the concepts started getting more complicated and there's a whole lot more to memorize, it becomes more difficult to recall information.
And you need to practice.
In exams. Yeah, exactly. So now grade 11, that's where it started getting tricky, but it only started showing in grade 12. So I was failing accounting. I think I had like 30 something percent. I was failing maths. So well, I wasn't failing, but I was at below 50%. And then I had to catch up. I had to study. So I brought in a friend of mine from Dlamini at the time, Soweto, Sipo. He's now head of business development at PSG Wealth.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So a lot of the kids I went to school with are now in high positions. There's directors at McKinsey and Company, KPMG, you name it.
These are kids from Raucol.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. We produce the most black actuaries, the most black accountants, the school, Raucol.
Do you think it was the link to Rao, UJ?
Yes.
Do you think it was because of that link?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, so the school is run by the school governing body. And Raucol had all the best teachers in the district, all the best performing teachers in that district. We had the best science teachers in our district. We had the best maths teachers in our district. You understand?
So I just want to say, you believe that there should be more Radford houses to teach critical thinking, and maybe there should be more schools in partnership with tertiary institutions.
Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, high schools should all be in partnership with tertiary institutions because they are a feeder. So, you know what I mean? Just like if you live in a certain area in Blackowery, your house becomes a feeder for the school there. If there's a certain university, the schools should become a feeder for that university, So
you're bringing Usipo from Edlamini.
Yeah.
Because you're seeing flames.
I'm seeing
with
flames,
maths and accounting.
everything. And he's in the top 10 at that point in time already.
Sure.
And I've never been in the top 10. So I said, Fanas, Sipo, you're going to come live in the burbs. You understand? We will wake up in the morning. My dad's going to drop off at school. Every morning.
So you became the white kid that adopted the black kid from Ekasi to come and stay with him.
To stay with me. Yeah, exactly. That's to help me study and everything, to be my study buddy. And I got through. I got, a B in maths. I got, I think, 73%. I got 78% in
That's
English,
brilliant.
even though I didn't remark my test, and I should have remarked it to get an A, but it's fine now.
By the way, I think this is just my personal opinion. We speak about conspiracy theories all the time. I think a lot of these educational spaces, they give kids those marks because there's money in the remarking. The 78s, I mean, they could always bump it up to 80. I think there's money to be made in remarks.
Remarked his things because he was like, no, Shamalo, remark it. So I was like, dog.
And he got a distinction. It happens, by the way. I've seen these stories. They don't speak about it.
PSG, dog. Like I get that you want that 2%, dog. You want that distinction. But also like, going to school, I wouldn't need a bursary, whereas he might need a bursary. So It also, we had different motivations as well for that. But that just taught me, like, never look down on people or anything else. So when people talk about my brilliant mind and everything else, for me, I find that offensive because they never speak about my brilliant heart. They never speak about my generosity. The fact that I don't get intimidated by people. Like, I don't see people's intelligence as a threat, Is
that not vanity, the wanting people to acknowledge your brilliant heart? And your brilliant generosity?
It's not even about, it's because, because they're very quick to use whatever it is that they're upset about me to destroy my character and completely erase the fact that evidently I've got a brilliant heart. If you've just seen the work that I've done, and the work that I've done has been to uplift people, you know what I mean? To serve people. So someone like that, number one, it would be very weird to call someone like me a narcissist. And number two, to also just look at my brains or the knowledge that I've been able to acquire, or my God-given gift of being able to, memorize all of these things that I'm consuming and keep them in my head. I don't know how I'm able to do that, but it's a gift. You know what I mean? And recall them whenever I need to as well. I don't know how I'm able to do that. It's a gift, that is the one part of it. But my application of that knowledge that I've been able to acquire shows you about my heart. You know what I mean? Shows you that, I've always, since I was a kid, I've always wanted to be like, I'm a benefit to people. I'm a good person. You know what I mean? I want to see the world getting better.
Society.
That's it. And I also see the good in other people. Like, I'm able to see a Penuel and say, Penuel, these are your talents. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You should do A, B, C, D, D, D. Or more of this, or more of this, and more of this. Clean. Whether you take it or not, it's fine. But that's just who I am. I'm able to identify that in people, like in general. Like, there isn't a person that I haven't been able, that I've seen, that I haven't been able to identify whether this person is going to be big or not. No.
That's a gift in itself. It's prophecy. Like
that's money. It's not a gift. If I can tell that this focalistic guy, if you put money behind him, if you put $1 million behind him, you can get 7 out.
You like Simon
That's
Cowell.
6 million.
Simon Cowell
yes,
does it.
Yes, I know. I am. So I've been doing that. You know what I mean? So I know exactly that. If I can say, as much as you guys nimlacha lo Kwesta teach and you think it's a gimmick, I'm telling you that it's going to be bigger than Aries and SEC. When it actually happens 2 years later after I've said it, to other people, oh yeah, well, to me, I actually know that, obviously, because I know exactly this guy's got everything that it takes to actually make it. So that is the brilliance of my mind, right?
So
but my heart is the thing that calls Kwesta and says, Kwesta, I see what you're doing, A, B, C, D. How about this? Oh, I see you're working on stuff. Let me connect you with such and such. Here's a plug to help you get from wherever you're going quicker, because we can create shortcuts for each other throughout our networks. That's my heart. No one ever speaks of my heart, and that's the thing that disappoints me the most. You'll never see a guy like, let's say an example, a Kwesta. He'll never go onto any public platform and say, that guy actually saved my fucking life. That guy took me from nothing to something. You understand? Like, when you speak about that guy, only heap praise on him. Never ever say anything negative about him.
Why do you think people are like that? Because I've seen a lot of guys who became millionaires during the Zuma era who love Jacob Zuma, but when Zuma sees flames, they never speak up about some of the connections that were open. So, why do you think that happens?
It's our culture. It's where we come from. So the crabs in a bucket mentality. Me being able to now go to school, high school with the kids from the hood, I got to see that mentality. It was the same mentality that kept the girls away from me because they wanted a rougher, tougher, guy that could get them in that environment. Once you seem like you're, because, okay, let me tell you why. Everyone from the hood who makes it escapes the hood and leaves everybody behind.
True.
So therefore, people in the hood, they've got attachment issues. They want to hold on to you. They want to keep you down because they know once you get up there, you're going to leave. So the same mentality happens with people who've got anxious attachment. So he'll feel, oh my goodness, this guy, whatever, he's helped me out so much or whatever, I owe him, or I need to do this to keep him, or, I don't know, I just feel guilty for the fact that, this person has done good for me and I'm not able to reciprocate that. It makes me feel inadequate. So now I need to demonize this person and say, yeah, no, they were using me. Yeah, he wouldn't have whatever, or gotten so far if it wasn't for me or anything else. And all of those other delusions. But when you actually look at the evidence of the truth, look at everyone who, from a career perspective, I've assisted, right? Once my hand is removed.
Wow. How do you make money? It's one of the questions that a lot of people have had, especially because everyone sues you.
Yeah, no, actually only one person has taken me to court.
Only one?
Yeah, only Shimza.
The other allegations were just allegations.
No. Well, the second person, the second person that's going to take me to court is Slicker, but that's just to make the settlement agreement an official court order. But yeah,
because I don't want to speak. I don't want to speak about the court orders. I just want to speak about how you make money everything. Because of.
No, you see, that's the thing. Why do I want to tell people how I make money? Okay. I've got multiple businesses. I've got multiple income streams, revenues, but most of my money has been from the intellectual property that I own, control and manage. That's most of the money. And then other money comes from, creating content and monetizing it. I make content and I
online.
Online content.
That people don't know about.
No, people know, but obviously it's monetizing. You know what I mean? People just don't know that it's probably me.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, exactly. So those are my private businesses and everything else, And then I've got other businesses that are run by my childhood best friend, who I'm not going to name because he doesn't need to get famous, but no, he doesn't. But
I hear you.
He makes sure that our money is good for life, and we grew up together. So
like Akon's brother, even though he got famous.
Yeah, like Boo.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah.
Is it better for people to not know how you make money, in your opinion? Because then they do attack you and they're constantly going to look, how can we destroy this guy? Crabs in the bucket.
Yeah, understand what I'm saying? So how can we get at his bread? Exactly. How can we stop him from getting deals? So it's best that they don't. And it's a good thing that I actually don't need much money, to live and everything else.
Are you a minimalist?
Very much so. Look at me.
Besides Peluk, are you a minimalist?
No, but look at me, dog.
I don't know what look at me means. Maybe wearing a 5,000 Rand hoodie.
Well,
Dog.
it is quite an expensive hoodie, but I got it as a gift. It's a 46664 Nelson Mandela hoodie that I got as a gift. It was given to me. Even these pants that I'm wearing are a gift. Almost everything I'm wearing was given to me. So like people gift me stuff. Like I do a lot of stuff for a lot of people, and they end up just giving me clothes and stuff like that. But right now, the main monetization strategy, now I haven't been really focusing on monetizing. I've been just relying on my passive streams of income and my other businesses that don't need me to be there to make money. You know, I've been relying on that because I've been building my public persona, my public brand, me going out onto podcasts, you know what I mean? So that I could use my brand now, my image, now my likeness to draw an income. So
do you think it's working and it's not destructive?
Yeah.
Because a lot of
I've
your
done it for
public
other
image...
people. I've done it for other people. Now I'm doing it for myself. And it's always been my plan. I always had a plan that I'm going to do it for other people to get myself to a certain point, to get myself the expertise. And then once I'm done and I'm done with them, fiduciary obligations.
With us?
With everybody else. No. I'm just talking about from a record company perspective and music production perspective. Like now I only make music for my wife, really, in general. Like that's, it's for my kids. But other than that, I don't really think anyone can afford to have me in the studio or deserves my time. And also, catalog music makes more money than new music. So in the States right now, 70% of the revenue comes from music that is 3 years and older. And that is growing. I'm predicting that within the next 4 or 5 years, you'll be looking at 90% of the revenue coming from catalog music and only 10% of the revenue coming from new music. So there's no real reason to actually start a record label or to run a record label. Like people always say, yo, why don't you try and make another Kwesta? I was like, yo, I don't need to. Why don't these new artists try sell as many records as Kwesta sold? They're nowhere near there. You understand? They need to catch up to that first. And you need to understand that we're still eating off that.
I was going to ask if you're still making money off...
We're still eating off that. We'll be eating off that. Like the reason why I'm making money off of that is so that, and I also make sure that I control the money that's made off of that. Is because if I was stupid enough to ever put that in Kwesta's control, it would have been squandered already. Just like the Rap Life money was squandered. You know what I mean? So
guys don't have business savvy.
No,
business
guys are thieves. You understand? It's like we're all in a business, and you guys use the business to buy alcohol. Getting bills at clubs. I used to have like Kwesta's cards, SMSs used to come to my phone number as a secondary number from FNB. I don't know why he registered me as a secondary number, but he did. I'd be like waking up at 4 a.m. See, 20,000 swiped at Kong or Sumo, or whatever the name of the nightclub is, in the middle of the night, and thinking to myself, imagine if all our business interests were controlled by you. And then another thing that also happened that I also saw, like if this nigga ever gets married, chances are whoever is marrying him is going to try and get him in community of property. Now imagine if we're partners in a business and now all of a sudden you get married in community of property. Now your wife is also splitting your shares.
Yeah.
Whatever happens in your relationship affects our entire business. So I wanted to make sure that we shield ourselves from that, we protect ourselves from that as well. And from a financial perspective, I mean, just on its own, we make millions a year of that.
Do you identify, since you were speaking...
just between him and I, not just the two of us, we don't need other income, just from that. So therefore, it means that both of us can free our minds to do other things and pursue other passions. You know what I mean? And he still has, an entire band and everything else to make other income from live performances. And the music that was created in that time was made so that it's not like Cassper and Nyovest 2-minute noodles music. It's
what? Not like what?
Cassper and Nyovest 2-minute noodles music. It's classic music. You know what I mean?
This is why people drag you.
They can drag me however they want, but it doesn't matter whether, even 10 years from now, Kwesta songs will still rock. The entire household, generationally. You understand what I'm saying? We've created generational classics. So that was to ensure that he can always benefit from that. He can be like Rolling Stones. He can be like Hugh Masekela.
The Beatles.
Hugh Masekela. So that is the one part. The co-writing of other songs, it also brings in money from Samro, from different albums, from different songs, except, I still need to fix my wife left me out of one of the credits on one of the songs that, her first number one, and she left me out the credits. There's that. And now this is going to expand, and you are going to expand, your brand is going to grow, and soon we'll be able to, fill arenas to do podcasts. And that will be a monetization strategy.
David
and
Letterman.
For me, bigger. We can fill arenas. Depending on how big your brand is as a podcaster, you can fill an entire stadium. And that's the next step. And I'm working on that. And I've got the capital to build myself up and dedicate myself to visiting as many podcasts. Doesn't matter where in the country they are, I can fly there and book myself there, for a period of, well, let's say I started in March 2020, this thing of visiting all these podcasts, right? So March 2020, 2021, 2022, we're now on to our third year. And the plan is that by 2023, I roll out my book, my biography. Everybody hates Nota. and then I'll do a book tour for the whole entire thing. And that's a live event. Tickets will be, and then from then on, I'll start, filling out arenas and selling out arenas, firstly on the African continent, and then the rest of the world.
That's brilliant.
For the rest of my life.
Do you identify, you speak about minimalism, low cost living. Do you identify with guys like Mark Zuckerberg, Steve Jobs, who also were minimalists?
Yeah.
Do you still live at home?
No.
Okay.
How?
No,
Why?
it's just a question.
No, but I'm just like...
No, I don't know your life, so that's why I'm asking.
No, but I'm saying, why would I be married and living at home?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know what your home situation is like. So
but...
on space. I know the Indians do that.
No, I said this, that my dad built an apartment on top of the family house.
It was for you?
No, it's an Airbnb. It's my Airbnb unit. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So he's built that, so I can use that.
What's wrong with living at home with your wife?
So it's not about living at home. I'm just saying, we've had this discussion before. We had a whole entire long podcast where I spoke about being at home and my plans for moving out of home and acquiring land. That's the whole entire plan. The plan is to acquire. We had this conversation with Spoo, but
there's a reason I'm asking, by the way.
Okay. So for me, the reason...
I'm asking as a general, what is wrong with living at home with your wife?
No, there's nothing wrong. It's actually the best thing, actually. Okay. Multi-generational households are the best things. And I've been saying that we need to move back into a multi-generational...
or build multi-generational homes.
But okay. Do you want me to repeat what I said the last time we said? You forgot the conversation we had.
You can.
Okay,
please.
So what I'm saying is that the problem is this now, in our households, is that we're not benefiting from having multi-generational households where Penuel, when he's now 14 and he has his first wet dream, his uncle, who's younger than his father, is there to explain it to him without him having to feel awkward or anything like that. And that's what we're missing out on in multi-generational households. We're also missing out on having the grandparents there with the children to teach the grandchildren how wealth is passed down, because they get the wealth of knowledge and then they also get to see the wealth in assets, when their grandparents get passed on, and they get taught how to take care of these things when their grandparents are no longer there. So we're losing that with our family structures, and that's why we're seeing our country falling apart the way it is, because we don't actually have, proper family units. My grandmother used to make sure that we always go to her house in Soweto every single weekend, like all her grandchildren, like me and all my cousins. So me and all my cousins are still pretty close, you know what I mean? We're still very cool. And I just think of like that with my cousins' children. Our aunts, my mother, they haven't taken the same role that my grandmother has played to make sure that everybody comes together. So now the next generation are not coming together. So now it's our turn. Yeah. We need to step in and create that role. And that's why I put my family through family therapy, because I felt like when we're having these discussions, culturally speaking, I'm not on the same level as my parents, and I cannot instruct them on certain things. But also, like, my parents, my dad is 70, my mother's 65, I'm 32. I've got my own household. So I'm also, as a man, now at a stage where I need to be in a more leadership role. And for them, they're holding on for traditional perspectives, but they don't have the means to actually, make things happen. Anything that they need to make happen needs to be done through me. And for me, if I'm ever going to do something, I need to be in control of it. I need to oversee it. So the only way for us to actually have that proper discussion was to have a referee, which is the therapist. And there we can have the discussion, the difficult discussions, break through traumas and break through like family roles, certain family roles, and say, okay, fine, you're being unfair to this person here, or you're being too lenient on this other person here, or you're harming the family in so doing. And through this process, now we're able to have more constructive conversations where I'm able to have input on our family's direction going forward. And I've been able to convince my dad that, you know what, chances are I'm going to live longer into our family's future than he is. And therefore, you know, it only makes sense that I make the decisions that I'll be subject to for longer than he will be. You know, because once he's gone, those decisions, you know, once he's gone, he doesn't have to live with them. And I think the importance of that is so important to me that I've actually been considering actually doing actually from next year onwards doing an entire reality show in my family's multi-generational household, and get all of us to move in, like get my sister to move back in, hopefully, you know, hopefully if things don't progress with her and her boyfriend to the point where they want to live in one place, then no, like if they're just boyfriend, like, because if she gets married, then it's impossible. Like I would never now tell my sister, okay, we're shooting a reality show,
come back
for TV. No, not for cameras. But I want to do that because I feel like South Africa can benefit from it. And even throughout my, like, even my, like right now, currently, that my relationship turmoil and everything else, you know, my separation and everything else that's happening on social media, I feel like people are learning from it. And if I'm hiding from it and I want to be proud and I want to look like, oh, I'm Mr. Perfect and, you know, my whole life is perfect, you know, people won't benefit from that. And then I don't become the testament or the testimony. And now you finally get to see, or now you've finally seen, since that interview that you've now forgotten that we had on Virtual Nkuku,
I remember the
suffering that I've been enduring and that I've been saying, no, don't worry. I'm going through the suffering and I'm accepting it. Don't worry, it's part of the process. It's going to embolden me. This
is also like a Kanye West thing that you're going through, because he went through the same with Kim, or something similar.
No. He didn't go through the same thing with Kim. I know. He went through something in terms of like he's married to someone who's got a blue tick, a verified profile, and therefore they've got all these outside influences, and therefore now even if they're doing something crazy, you can't even hold them physically because they could run to the police station and say you abused them and attack them. And now because they've got such a fan base, they've got enough people to believe them so that it's not critically analyzed what actually happened. So you're at high risk as a man in that situation. You need to be really, really careful that anything you can't even raise your voice at too high a level, because now if your neighbors hear that you were screaming at your wife and then she files a report and then they get statements and they say, do you hear any noises coming from this? Oh yes, they're fighting all the time. You understand? Then so even within my own home, I could not express myself. I needed to go out the house, get into the car, express myself without my wife there, and I'd train myself there because it's a very delicate situation where I cannot confront it with the full honesty. But I don't need to worry that my wife is not Kim Kardashian. She's not a hoe. She's not being passed around, or like even now, she's not out there in Europe with some Pete Davidson motherfucker. She's on her own journey where she needed to recenter herself, and it's just been really difficult to go through this because I don't have from her side enough familial support. She didn't actually have a supportive family with her the whole entire time that she was here. Obviously, she's from Zim and her parents live in New Zealand. So now with going through this difficulty, I actually had to try and figure out what is going on. And it's only now that I actually know what is actually going on. At first I had suspicions, but I couldn't confront it, and I couldn't be, I needed to just be calm and wait for her to contact me, or wait for her, even if she blocks me or unblocks me, whatever, you know what I mean? That type of thing, to go through these motions and have the patience, and then also show her that while you're going through this, I'm still here. I love you. I care for you. I'm not going to go anywhere. I'm not shaken, because right now in this sensitive space that she's in, she needs to know that even if she were to recover and be fine, if she were to go back, I'd understand and I'd be there for her. And my wife also chose someone like me, knowing that I know the industry, I know how it is when girls are in the industry and everything else. So I would be more willing to understand what she could be going through right now. And she's going through a lot. She spent 2 years in lockdown where there's no shows and everything else, especially for artists like her. You know, the Peritas, the Zonkes, the Zaharas don't perform at News Cafe.
And the bulk of their money comes from gigs.
Festivals.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you can't have festivals with restrictions. So also their identity. If I'm not on stage, I'm not who I am.
Yeah.
You understand? I can't perform for Instagram Live and get the same feeling I get from actual people, you know, with real reactions. So that plays on you, and that can take you through cycles of, you know, depressive states or states of mania now, because now you're performing for Instagram Live. You need to look like you're very happy and you've got this euphoric thing, and then you're seeing, and that's now you get to extreme mania. Oh my goodness, I had 3,000 people on my live, and it affects you, you know, and now you're doing this thing online, you are talented, you sing, you play the guitar, and then guys like myself, Penuel, go on to live, we just talk nonsense and we get more views than the artists that play wonderful music that, you know, touches our souls.
Yeah.
And that also has a negative impact on someone. And then your husband has got a tour with Cassper and Nyovest, and then Cassper and Nyovest fans see that they cannot get through your husband because he's blocked 99% of them. Or the stands, right? He's blocked 99% of them, so he can't see their tweets anymore, so they're not affecting him. So who do they attack? The person who hasn't blocked 99% of them, his wife. Let's attack his wife the whole entire time. And then she gets all these attacks on social media, and then it causes her to now be in a panic, in a daze, and to point fingers. Oh, I'm blaming you. Yes, it's you, something that you said that was controversial that's now making all these people attack me. And it's not about whether what I said is true or whatever, or whether those people are paying people to make an attack on her like they did with this whole entire Mihlali situation. So they actually paid promoters, and they've been paying promoters. They even paid promoters to attack Musa Kaula now, that he did that whole entire petition against her. And the worst cyberbullies. Mihlali is probably the worst cyberbully, like, ever. You know what I mean?
Are you saying she's a cyberbully?
She's a cyberbully.
Or a victim of...
No, she's a cyberbully. She cyberbullied Bonang. She posted a picture of Bonang looking unsavory and everything else just to cyberbully Bonang. You know what I mean?
You're saying some influencers, not her in particular, sometimes get paid to bully people?
No, she pays people to say negative things about people. Yes, or to promote her content. Okay. She pays them for whatever she needs them for. You can pay promoters. I can pay promoters, right, to say, Penuel's a mass murderer, a killer, a cult leader, whatever, and they will tweet that. You understand? And you'll see by their account, this account is 4 followers or whatever. It's like a Finsta account, and it's a whole lot of them. You know, so those are the accounts that
I'm sorry about all of that, by the way.
No, man, it happens. You know what I mean? Yeah. These are part of the journeys of life.
Just me to you, like, I'm sorry. I've been in a lot of relationships, been in roller coasters, and it becomes worse when it's magnified by social media and so many external people that don't know anything and who get off
don't know you
on the drama. People get off on the drama, so they get excited. They want to hear.
The Soul Phendukas of this world, you know, that one really disappointed me, because I was like, you know, as much as I've criticized you and I've said whatever you said, I feel, attack me, bro.
Yeah.
Don't attack my wife.
Yeah.
You understand? Don't do that to her. And also, don't play on mental health.
Yeah.
You know, now trying to respond to my wife's tweet, trying to imply that I'm mad or something, like, you know what I mean? Like, you're taking it too far. We took it to the same level. I said what I said. I left it there. I'm done with what I said. The mere fact that you're still touched about what I said in the past, I'm already past there. The next thing I said was, your co-host is abusing you on your show. You understand what I'm saying? I wasn't trying to now kill you or bash you. I'm here to praise you when I feel there's something good. And when there's something I feel is negative, I'm willing to say it. And the fact that you can't take that because you know you're a sensitive person, you're a hypersensitive person, right? And you're willing to ignore every single other engagement that we had just off of one thing, and you're saying, this is unforgivable. This is it just shows your immaturity.
I want to ask you a question.
So I just wanted to finish off on that point. So seeing that whole entire circus around, you know what I mean? It was actually quite good. I was like, the same people that I thought were pretending as if they liked me just because they thought they could benefit from me in some way are showing themselves right now.
Sure.
And they showed themselves in this situation again. Everybody showed themselves. So it was a blessing in disguise. And from my secure position, knowing that, okay, fine, me and my wife are going to go through problems. I got married to her knowing that I'm going to have to struggle with her for a lifelong thing. And we made a commitment to each other to say, listen, we don't believe in divorce. We don't believe in infidelity. Those are the two things that are our non-negotiables. We're going the whole way, right? So those are our agreements. As to how everybody else can influence that, for me, it doesn't matter. But the one thing I also wanted to ensure was that I'm able to remove all the outside negative influences around her, the stylist, the hairstylist and everything else, people who are there to leech off of her and don't care about her well-being. Because my wife shouldn't be doing shows right now. She shouldn't be performing. She's not in the right mental state to be doing. She should go on a retreat, go to see psychologists and get the actual help that she needs. Because you don't go into Twitter spaces talking about how you've left your matrimonial home and then you're crying and then you're saying, no, but you weren't beaten or abused, but you felt, treated somehow. And then you're now allowing people to now discuss your trauma. That's not normal behavior. And then after that, someone says,
entertainment.
It's not even for entertainment. It's like, it's a real trauma. You're talking about a real trauma.
I'm saying the people that are engaging.
Yeah, for entertainment, yeah.
They just entertain.
And then they say, yeah, please sing for us. And then you start singing. That's like,
it's just entertainment.
But for me,
it's like
who's observing that, who knows you,
in the zoo.
For me, who knows that that's a manic episode. Like I'm watching someone who's going through a manic episode. And for me to watch someone I love go through this, right? And then also know that I have to deal with it in public. There's no way I can deal with it out of public. I've been trying for 6 months. Since January, I've been trying to deal with this privately until she tweeted. No one knew about this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I kept it private. I've been working this on my own. And now, at least I don't have to work on it in secret. You know what I mean? I can work on it privately, but I don't have to be like going through it in secret. And yeah, man.
But good luck to both of you, man. And I apologize again to both of you for everything that's happening. Relationships are tough for everyone. It's
Everybody.
Just when it gets on public platforms and you guys are notable figures.
Yeah.
It becomes so much worse. And the chance of external influence and of some of the external influence, doesn't matter how strong you are. Some of it can peep through. It can be a family member.
It will.
It can be someone
exactly.
And it peeps through and it
will.
hits you. So
exactly. So you need to
I
be.
hope both of you will be fine.
You need to have a strong mind. Like I used to play tennis with my wife a lot, often. But I didn't really play tennis for the sake of my playing tennis, but mainly to train her mentally. So when we play tennis, I would commentate throughout the entire tennis match. So the first couple of matches, I'd really like dominate her.
Sure.
And be dominating her like, oh, and he hits another shot. Oh, you know what?
Was she aware of this?
Not initially.
Okay.
Not initially. I told her afterwards. So then...
You should have told her up front.
No. Trust me. Okay. I couldn't. Okay. So, we'd play and then we'd hug. Okay, I'd beat her. And then when she finally beats me, that's when I was like, okay, cool, she's ready. Then I upgraded her. Say, okay, now you're ready to play against Dr. Baloyi, my big sister, who beats me more often than I beat her since we were kids. She's just a better tennis player.
Sure.
And she's practiced it more. You know what I mean? And I don't have a backhand. You know what I mean? So then she played. And then she played a couple games. And then after the third outing, the third weekend, because they'd play every weekend, her and my sister, just the two of them, because I wanted them to bond. You know what I mean? And also my sister's very difficult to bond with, because she's always been the favorite child. She's always pushed me away as her brother. Hey, why? No, this is my friends. No, I don't want to go to the movies with him. No, why must I always carry his pocket money? No, he's so annoying. You know what I mean? My sister's always been like that. She's like, even now we're adults. She's 38 years old. I'm 32. She's still like that to this day. You understand? But she's my sister.
She still finds you annoing.
But the thing is this, you understand? But she's my sister. You know what I mean? So like, she would do that to my wife as well.
Yeah.
She behaves like it's me. So she's just as impatient, but my wife doesn't have this is my sister. I love her. Yes, she says all these mean things, but I hug her and you know what I mean? I love her. You know what I mean? We can say these things to each other, but still love each other.
It was good training. Kudos to you for having that vision.
For the mental strength.
That's why I thought maybe you should have told up front, but if you feel it was best to not But that mental training is very important.
When she beat my sister the first time, I said, now that mental training. And I was like, you remember all those times I used to talk nonsense while you were playing and everything else? I wanted you to be able to shut out the noise, to shut out the criticism and work on your game plan. You know what I mean? And work on what you're doing the whole entire time. And that's why she was able to beat my sister at tennis, you know, a couple of times as well. So now they started having this whole entire tennis playing thing. And you know, with that, I think just now, at first I was unsure. I was not satisfied with myself. I said I didn't train her enough. I didn't give her the strength that she needed to actually. But now I'm actually sure that I did give her the strength.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, her herself, naturally, she already had a 10% higher chance of going into an episode because just her next sibling, like the sibling that comes after her, has had a long struggle for, you know, almost 15 years or 14 years with bipolar disorder. So, you know, when you've got someone within your close family who's got bipolar, it means that you've got 10% chance higher of having an episode or having, you know what I mean? So as though at first it seemed like we were having a fight, an argument that, you know, would fizzle down over some time, you know, when it's an episode, it can take months.
I want to ask a question. I think I've got two more questions for you. The one is...
Can take even like 2 years.
I can imagine. I don't want to speak about mental health.
No.
I'll just mention this quickly. So Sadhguru at some point speaks about when you're triggered by something that affects your mental state. For most people, it's a split second. That's why you punch the door. You know, you kick whatever. For some people, it lasts a bit longer, and then maybe you go to rehab or you go to therapy and you bounce back. For some people, those are some of the people that end up being institutionalized for life. You get triggered just like everyone else, but you struggle to come back. So instead of coming back in a split second or a week, it could be years or for the rest of it, you never come back. So I just wanted to mention that.
That's exactly my greatest fear is that, you know...
they're never coming back.
Well, I mean, she did come back.
Sure.
For a couple of days, and then I spoke to her and everything else, but the behavior had still not changed. She was still in that mood where it's like me talking to you, right?
Yeah.
But you forgot the details of the conversation that we had prior. So it's fine. I can forgive you. But when I'm now having a conversation with you and it's like, dog, it's as if it's like we are meeting for the first time today, all of a sudden.
Yeah, that's a bit scary.
You know what I mean?
That's a bit scary. I wanted to ask this. This is not about your wife. You've made comments about black women. I'm going to ask this question on the assumption
that I love black women because I'm married to one and I committed my family to one. Yes. I'm
gonna ask this question on the assumption that black women as a general, not all of them, some, maybe a lot, maybe most, are lost.
Yes, they are.
So my question to you is, if black women are lost, how do we, by we I'm talking just normal black gents, how do we help find or help them find themselves so that we can find each other?
We need to hold ourselves to higher standards and stop being enablers of toxic women and toxic femininity. So that means that we also need to take responsibility for certain things. Like the institution of marriage is one thing. Through our studies of civilization, has been the best thing for family structures, for the progress of humanity, benefits economies. You know, economies where there's monogamous marriage predominantly perform better than economies where there isn't. So now we know that we've done all the social experiments that we need to know, okay, what is the most effective way to live as human beings and as black people as well. We need to find our humanity because our humanity has been stripped from us. Black people are not human beings, and black men are monsters. So, are
you saying they are or they portrayed as?
Well, I mean, what is a monster?
It's a thing that commits atrocities.
No, it's what you say is a monster.
Okay. Okay.
You know what I mean? If it's a shadow in the dark that you can't...
That's a monster.
Who knows what it is, you know? So because we've assigned monster to it, we've created a monstrosity out of it. It becomes a monster. So who creates these monstrosities? It's the patriarchs. And the patriarchs are the elite whites, the elite white men who know that black men are a risk because of our genetic supremacy. Because, not because we're going to rape their wives, but because we're going to breed them out. You understand what I'm saying? So to stop us from being able to breed them out, they need to tell their wives or white girls that black men are savages that rape women and everything else and beat up women and all that stuff. But they're the ones who traveled the entire world committing genocides, atrocities, rapes and everything else.
The data is overwhelmingly in their case for all those things.
But who are the biggest rapists? When you see a billboard on the side of the road, or when a woman sees a billboard on the side of the road in South Africa that says stop gender-based violence, what is that actually saying? It's saying black men are beating women.
Yes.
Rape. Black men are raping women.
Yes.
You know, all of those things. So we have been created into these monstrosities, right? And then when you hear that Jube Jube had to fight off rapists and had to pay them off and ended up becoming a pimp in jail. And then you hear that more males get raped than women get raped. And then you hear that, you know, the colonizers, white women used to rape black men. And this thing of abortion, this thing of birth control was to hide the evidence of the rape of slaves. You know? That's why the eugenics...
And no one would ever believe that story, by the way.
What?
That a white woman raped a black man.
Yes,
and even if
didn't.
the black man spoke out, people would
No. She would say he raped her and he would be killed. So that has happened and it's been recorded and it's part of our history. So black men have this fear. Emmett Till, it was because a white woman said he whistled at her, right? So black men have this fear. So for me, I needed to now start saying, because there's a lot of rhetoric that goes out. Julius Malema comes out there, he's stoking racial tensions. I needed to be out there and vocal and say to my black brothers, especially my young black brothers, new HIV infections right now globally, 25% of them are women, 80% of those 25% are black women. Now, this was a disease that predominantly spread amongst men who have sex with men. And now 75% of the infections, right, are men, right? And those are predominantly men who have sex with men. And then 25% of those infections are women. And then you look at a South African case study on its own, and you look at girls and boys between the ages of 15 and 24 years old. Girls have 4 times the HIV infection rate of boys of the same age group. And then we just look at general economically active population, well, let's say up to 49 years old. One in 4 women between 15 to 49 years old in South Africa is HIV positive, and over 90% of those are black women. Just looking at those stats, you put yourself at a very high risk of contracting HIV if you're with a black woman. Just from a health perspective, it becomes a health risk now.
As a black man?
Yeah, it becomes a health risk right now because of the lifestyles that we're living and the fact that the infection rate in black women, especially in South Africa, is so high. It's 4 times higher in youths between 15 and 24 in women than it is in young men. You understand? It's 4 times the rate. And that on its own should tell you that there's clearly some situation that is putting black women at further risk. And the only way that you can, number one, stay safe from that as a black man is to not engage with black women at all, completely, right? But that's almost impossible and an untenable
but we
situation.
have to discuss it as a potential solution, looking at the data.
So what can we do now to ensure that, okay, the damage is being done or the damage has been done? We need to now start reintroducing some of the traditional methods that we had to stop women from being induced into having sex at a very young age, because we are seeing that having sex affects them psychologically.
And clearly in terms of health, because my guess is that a lot of these young girls that are sick
are being
got it
infected by
from
older
old.
men.
Yeah.
Older men, yes. Because
Which is why
these young men are not having sex.
Which is why the young boys don't have the same rates.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So now we've got older men that are taking advantage of these girls, right? Because I can buy your mother a car, or I can buy you a house or something like that. So, you know what I mean? Or because I can rape you and then pay off your parents. You understand? We need to now start saying, okay, fine, how do we introduce the traditions that stop those things from happening? We need to bring back virginity testing. We need virginity testing for both boys and girls. I don't know how we're going to do it for boys, but we need it, right? And we need to ensure that our girls stay virgins up until the age of 21, if we can. And also from a social media perspective, because the human trafficking and the access to people that we have because of social media is also a problem. We need to make sure that girls under the age of 25 don't show up on your Explorer page. If you don't know her, you don't follow her, you shouldn't be able to see her profile, because that's another way. I mean, it's too quick. It's too easy. It's too easy. It's way too easy. I see a girl I like. If she replies and sends me her location, I can have an Uber there in 5 minutes. You know what I mean? I can meet a girl and have her at my house within an hour without leaving my house.
And girls don't have girls don't have these conversations amongst
women
each other.
Women don't have these conversations. And they don't see the risk.
How are you going home with a random guy from a club while you're drunk?
And
how do you get into an Uber going to see a guy you've never met?
And the societal effects, because it's happening on a wild, at scale. It's happening at scale. So the societal effects is that men are seeing less and less value in women. You understand? And that's why we're seeing the abuse and the victimization that we're seeing, because the way in which women are carrying themselves, right, makes them undeserving of common decency, because they are not being decent in their behavior.
Compare them to like Muslim women, for example, and how they carry themselves.
Look at that. That's the thing. So it's either you get a white girl, you get a Muslim girl, you know what I mean? Or you get a traditional girl that understands the value of purity, you know, because I think women have misunderstood the value of purity.
But you also say, but your starting point was literally that black men in particular need to hold themselves to a higher standard, which will hopefully then get the girls to follow suit as well.
Yes, we need to say
that these high quality
I'm not going to marry a girl unless she's a virgin. Like, so number one. And then also myself, I'm going to also preserve myself. I'm not just going to be having casual sex.
Yeah.
Because I want to preserve myself for a girl I can build a family with, and to make sure that we are not at risk. And it's not about using condoms. It's about, even if we're using condoms, right, we might be preventing the HIV, but the psychological effects of girls that have sex and that come from backgrounds where there's economic benefits to that sex, and they induce themselves into prostitutions unwittingly because they don't know. You understand? Your first boyfriend that gives you an iPhone means that your next boyfriend needs to give you something equivalent for you to give him your body, and therefore now you are selling your body.
Now you're a sex worker.
Automatically. You know what I mean? And we're seeing sex work has been normalized. The influencers are all sex workers, all of them. There's not an influencer that's not a sex worker. All of them sell sex. The reason we like their page.
These are the wild things you say, though. You don't even need prompting. You just say them.
All these influencers, female influencers, are sex workers. All of them are prostitutes. Whether they do it penetratively, right, through actually having sex with people, or whether they sell sex through the images that they use to trap people and lure customers.
Yeah.
They're advertising it. They're soliciting sex.
They stimulate.
You understand what I'm saying? Whether or not you actually go to...
So whether you're a porn star having sex, or you're doing porn just to take photos so other girls...
You're a sex worker. Yeah. You're using sex for work. You're earning off of, your sexuality, your body, and everything else. So all of these are sex workers. It's just have varying degrees to which, they're willing to do certain things or perform certain sexual acts. But that's what it is. And even those ones who say, no, we don't do, for the right price, they probably do a hookup.
For the right price.
For the right price. I mean,
and in the right packaging, so that it doesn't look.
Yeah, if I'm a festival organizer and I book, let's say, Pearl Tusi to come and host the event, and I make her the MC of the event, and I pay her an exorbitant amount of money. I put her in the penthouse suite and everything else. And then when she gets up to the penthouse suite, she finds me there. You know what I mean? It's up to her to decide whether she wants more money.
Jeez. I like the fact that you mentioned that the virginity testing, not just for the girls, but also for the boys, which I don't know how we're going to do it. But it's not so much that we want to test the virginity in boys, but holding men accountable as well. That the reason the reason girls are prostituting themselves, the reason girls are expecting
it's called buys
wallets and whatever, it's because
guys are buying it.
Niggas are the ones that are enabling this type of behavior.
You understand?
So thank you. My last question to you, it was meant to lead on from the Mark Zuckerberg type of comment that I made about minimalism. You always have earphones in your head. Earpods, always on your phone. Just generally and maybe quickly your thoughts on AI getting microchips, the future of the world from a tech perspective. Because it's like you're plugged in constantly.
No, that's the thing, is that it's better than Mark Zuckerberg. What Mark Zuckerberg is trying to sell you guys is a joke. This thing where you have to put on your fucking goggles to get into the metaverse. I'm already in the metaverse, right? If I want to be on Mars right now, I'm on Mars right now. You can't tell me I'm not on Mars, Penuel, because I can see Mars right now. Okay? That's it. All you need is your imagination. And with audio, you can stimulate that. So if I'm listening to something from an audio perspective, I can imagine that whole entire world. I don't need to wear the goggles.
Yeah.
So I've already created my metaverse. You know what I mean? When I want to be in nature, right? I sit on my balcony outside my house because there's like a nature estuary outside, like which is reserved. So there's lots of birds and everything else. Yeah. And it actually feels like I'm in the jungle when I close my eyes and I just listen to those birds because I can hear the entire cacophony of every single living thing within that eco park, you know? And I can feel it. So that is how I put myself within the metaverse. Now, as for competing against computers and AI technology, you know, we're in danger. We're in serious danger. I want to have a Neuralink chip, you know what I mean? Because I don't want something that has got more intelligence than me. Because the reason why we are the apex predators we are as human beings is because we've got more intelligence than anything else. And that's why we've dominated anything else. Yes. So I can assume that if we create something with our intelligence that can supersede our intelligence, it's probably going to
dominate us.
Naturally.
Nota, thank you very much for the conversation, and I'm looking forward to us having more of them. And I hope you enjoyed visiting us.
Thank you. I love being in your studio. I came here not to say everything I want to say all at once because we'll be back. And big up on the Penuel show. Big up on everything you guys are doing, virtual cuckoo. And we need to make sure that we get more voices. I need you to bring Saul here so he can explain himself. And
lastly, because
he says it's just banter, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but how come I can banter him and then he doesn't
I need to give you your apology.
Yeah.
You said you wanted it to Nota and to the public.
Yeah.
I would like to apologize for making reckless statements that may potentially incite violence from crazy people.
Yeah.
I may have reasons that I think make sense to people, but just from a general perspective, I do apologize.
No problem. Thank you.
Nazwa.
Thank you. No, I understood that you at least understood where I'm coming from to say, look, I'm not saying you're a crazy person or you're a madman.
You're just saying that I'm a god. I get it. Out.